do voice votes or do we need to be on Prime?
We're trying to get everybody on Prime for this call. So if you could, we'd love for you to try to log on. Hey, Chris, can we do a sound check with you? So you're muted now. Great. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I could hear you. We can.
Awesome. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
I do have a quick question about Prime, the Prime Gov thing. It looks like I'm on, but the page is blank. Is it supposed to be blank right now?
It should be an agenda, I think.
Yeah.
I'm signed in.
You have to go up into that the meetings box
Yeah.
and click on the meetings box, and then you have to, and it pulls up a choice of Arts Commission and something else, and you have to click on the Arts Commission meeting agenda. And
My
then it'll come up.
My choices are live meeting or search portal. So I guess I
Live
could do a
meeting. Live meeting.
Live meeting.
And it's Prime, it's okc.prime.gov or
primegov.com.
Right. What Terry just said, okc.primegov.com.
okay.
Robbie, here's where I am. Where am I?
I cannot tell.
Yeah, he has a login screen.
Does that look familiar to anyone else on the call?
It says touch ID to log into primegov.com or cancel.
Yeah, it's your login, Jim. That's where you enter your email address and your password.
Well, I just did that.
You have to
This thing came up.
And you pushed enter.
Touch ID. You need to push the down on the home button so it can read your fingerprint.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Did that work?
Well, I'm in better shape than I was.
This sounds promising.
Let's use Loftus.
Robbie,
Yes.
I show Commissioner Booker is not connected.
Okay.
That makes me feel better.
Correction, Commissioner Booker is connected. Commissioner Chambers is not connected.
Okay.
Neither is Commissioner Salyer.
So we're almost there.
I logged in.
Oh, you did? Does it
Yeah.
show up on your screen and everything?
Yeah, I have the agenda up. It asked for my original password and then my city login. I've done it. Let me close everything and do it again.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm showing you as disconnected, sir.
Interesting.
And we still do have a few little bugs. So did you have a problem last meeting too?
No, it was the meeting before that. I wasn't
Okay.
listed as a user.
Okay, that's right.
Arts Commission. And it reads my name, Brian Chambers.
We're in.
Am I in now?
Yes, you are in, sir.
Great.
Is there some magic about our password or did we just make it up?
I think you get to make up your own.
Anybody, was there any magic? Okay.
Mark, am I in or out?
I don't know why this is so complicated. And the email, is the email our regular email address?
Okay.
Yeah, it's your regular email.
Or was it a city email? No. Okay.
No, it's your regular email.
Okay.
Mark Loftus, am I in or out?
Sir, I show you as out.
What if I just stay out?
Jesus.
Wait a minute, just hold on a second.
Okay, so this is saying that my account, my email address doesn't exist as a user.
Noted, we'll do roll call for her.
That doesn't seem possible.
Have you registered before? Do you remember
Uh-huh.
doing it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been in this a couple of times.
Okay,
Robbie, we have noted that Commissioner Salyer is not able to fully sign in. We can do roll call for her.
okay. So, yeah, so what Mark is suggesting, what we might want to try to do as we go through the items today is everyone vote, and then we'll see if somebody can't vote, and we'll call your vote out so that
Okay.
you can record it.
Good.
And we just want you to have a little bit of practice if we can.
I'll have to start from scratch, I think, but it won't take my email address.
Right, and
That happened to me 2 meetings ago, Meg, where somehow I had been in the system, but all of a sudden I wasn't. I thought Steve and the office he works in fired me.
well, you know,
Happy to get fired.
last Thursday, I was kicked out of our timekeeping system, and our
Mr.
business
Chair?
manager called me.
Yes, Mark.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. The time is now 5 after 4. Welcome, everyone. We now have a quorum, and we will begin the Oklahoma City Arts Commission September 21st, 2020 meeting. As you are aware, this meeting is live streamed from remote locations. We want to remind everyone that as you have arrived in our virtual meeting, we have muted your mic. As instructed in the agenda, those who called or emailed us in advance to let us know your name, contact number, and agenda item you wish to speak about will be recognized first. Your text, email, or call will not be received once this meeting has begun. Before the Arts Commissioners vote on each item, I will ask if any members of the public wish to speak. Since you are muted, when I call on you, please unmute yourself. On a phone, you'll use *6 and then state your name and address for the record before you speak. On a desktop or a laptop, you'll hover your cursor over the microphone icon to remove the diagonal red line. If we lose our connection for this meeting for more than 15 minutes, we will consider any remaining items at our next regularly scheduled Arts Commission meeting on October 19th at 4 p.m. We will now conduct roll call. So Mark, please conduct the roll.
Commissioner Chambers,
Here.
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Booker.
Here.
Commissioner Cooper,
Here.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Kovash,
Mark, my name is Kovash, not Kovash, and I'm here.
thank you, Commissioner Kovash.
Thank you.
Commissioner Loftus,
Here.
Commissioner Seward,
Present.
Commissioner Salyer,
Here.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Sweeney,
Here.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call.
Thank you, Mark. Moving on to agenda item 2, approval of the meeting minutes from the August 17th, 2020 meeting. Everyone having a chance to read the minutes, and if there are no edits, I'll entertain a motion in a second. And
So
again,
moved.
thank you, Commissioner Loftus.
Second.
And second from Commissioner Salyer. Are we going to do this on Prime?
If we could, let's try it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go to roll call. So it did not get moved by Commissioner Loftus or seconded by Salyer in PrimeGov.
Robbie, I've tried to get in 4 times and I can't get in.
Okay, well, there we go. And the second was,
It was Commissioner Salyer, but I think
yeah,
Okay.
right. The first one is correct, Commissioner Lott. And then go to Salyer on the second instead of Cooper.
I'm Salyer.
Good. There you go.
Now they should vote, or we'll call.
Okay.
And now that this has been moved and seconded, all please vote on Prime Gov.
I don't show any place to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do we vote?
Are you on your browser under the live meeting when you saw, when you logged into Prime Gov?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There's also, just to clarify, now that we're in the Zoom meeting, Robbie is sharing a screen, or rather the city clerk's office is sharing a screen. That's not where we're voting. That's a projection. That is a shared screen. So if you
Right.
on a PC, Alt Tab, somehow get back to your web browser and record your vote, it should have a pop-up window reading approval of meeting minutes, and you click yay, nay, abstain, or absent.
I'm on the pop-up window and it just says voting not available.
Okay.
In
What if
that
we go
case,
to-
I'm moving on
yeah.
to a roll call vote. Mark,
you.
will you please conduct the vote?
Commissioner Chambers,
Aye.
Commissioner Bailey,
Aye.
Commissioner Cooper,
Aye.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call vote.
I wasn't asked to vote.
I'm sorry, sir.
That's
That's-
Commissioner Booker.
Yes, would be my vote.
Commissioner Booker. Commissioner Booker, yes.
And I believe, Mark, the motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 3, items for discussion action. We have many mural projects on the docket today and for the public record, so let's dive in. Moving on to agenda item 3A, Arts Commission case number 20-00031, curatorial plan for Factory Obscura Womb, or in this case, FO Womb, by Principal Curator Kelsey Carper, 25 Northeast 9th Street in Ward 6 for Factory Obscura as follows. There are 2 items. 1, curated rotating mural project, and 2, front porch art space at Mixtape. Robbie, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So this site is located in the downtown business district and also in the downtown scenic highway area. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. The curated rotating mural project is on the west side of the building. There's an overhead door and 5 paneled windows, which I'll show you in a minute. And then the front porch art space at Mixtape, you've seen before on your docket. It's located on the south side of the building and it's at the main entry. So many of you might remember this site. It was formerly known as Mel's Towing and Wrecker. It's now FO Womb. That is a new name, housing Factory Obscura, an immersive art space. It was constructed in 1934 as a 1-story, 7,000 square foot space. And in 1947, it had additional improvements to add another story and 13,900 square foot. And then it was purchased by Mason Realty Investors in November 2009, where later it became known as the Womb. And this is in Automobile Alley. So this is the west wall. And you can see the overhead door and the 5 paneled windows. The murals on these, on the door and the window areas are already installed. And then here you can see the front porch art space at Mixtape. And there's a large wooden deck there. and it's adjacent to their entry. These also are already installed. So when refurbishing the building to use it as an immersive art space, the windows on the west side of the building, they were covered with wooden panels. And then there started being a lot of graffiti accumulating, and the group wants to take back control of the imagery at the site. Their other plans include on the front porch art space, now it's covered with artificial turf, and they want to house some lighted art pieces in the future and sculptural elements. So there's several works of art on this building, some of which you may recognize and some of which are not matched up really well with our records. This came, as a transition was made from another department to the planning department several years ago. So we've got a Maya Hayek, a Nick Kaziek, Vex mural, a Jacob Harms, a Chris Kennelly, and a Yadika Starfields mural. There were no records of Vera Wright's found, but those also could be in the development services. And then you've previously seen the mixtape boombox. In your staff report, you have 10 different artists listed. We've received the Vera waivers from all 10. And the process that this needs to go through is it has to get downtown business district compliance, and issued a CA after Arts Commission, and then it would also need a permit for the curatorial plan. Also, if the front porch art space at Mixtape is determined to be on public right-of-way, a revocable permit will be required. At the time of writing the staff report, I could not determine that, but I've asked some other people here at the city to confirm, and it will be required to have that. So right now, what we have in the recommendations, if you decide to recommend this, the conditions stated in the staff report are that Vera waivers from all the artists that will be used anytime the work rotates, that they would be submitted to the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs prior to the work being installed. We have now received, after the staff report, the submission of the curatorial credentials of the principal curator, which is now listed as Kelsey Carper. There may be some other curatorial credentials of other project managers and assistants and bios. We have not received those yet. Also, there would be, as your previous recommendations, installation of an art marker at every location with titles of work and names of artists, review of engineered drawing for any structural works that would be located in this area, and then the approval of the CA and the issuance of the permit. Those are the recommended conditions for any motion to be made.
On the call in the meeting, I don't believe I see Laura or Kelsey. Are there any other representatives from the application who wish to speak? Hearing none, I'll open this up to commissioners for questions and comments.
This is Commissioner Eichmann. I have, could you go back to the west wall again?
Yes.
So I think the one question I have is, and I really wish Kelsey were here to answer this. We're talking about adding 5 more murals along through here. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to keep it. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to create a cohesive wall. The 5 different murals could be a bit chaotic. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to manage that.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly with the way, the existing wall, the way it's painted, and then the addition of the other pieces. I've not noticed that as an issue when we're looking at what's going on in the Plaza District, but I am a little concerned about that and would love to know how Kelsey plans to manage that here.
Robbie, this is Commissioner Cooper. Did you say that those have already been painted? Do we have an image that shows the work that has been done?
No, we don't. We typically don't on a curatorial plan. so I did not seek one out, just trying to keep it consistent. But I think that, going along with what Commissioner Eichmann said, since the applicant is not here, the principal curator and the applicant, I don't know that there would be any harm if you want to defer it and bring it back when they can join us, like at the October meeting, just so, and we could cite something like that, that you'd like to know more about how those decisions will be made. And
I think that would be helpful. I think it would be very helpful.
because it doesn't seem like it would stop them in any way.
This is Commissioner Seward. Although I have a lot of faith in Kelsey as a curator, I think she does a great job. I agree with Commissioner Eichmann and Cooper that it would be nice to see what the plans are for us, for the entire building. I mean, for both the south side and the west side. So I would recommend we defer it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Robbie, I don't know that I am intending here to sort of I don't want to micromanage this, because I do trust Kelsey Carper and how she manages projects.
Right.
I just, or dictate what those murals would be, but I am puzzled by how she's going to manage that. Would love to know
Sure.
more.
And I could reach out to her directly
Okay.
and ask her about that.
People can also change, Liz. So, we've got a lot of confidence in Kelsey, but things could change. So.
I have a question to make sure that I'm seeing all of the attachments on this item. This is Allison Bailey.
Yeah.
Do we have a packet of the curatorial plan that's separate from the email that I'm seeing?
It should be before your email. Yeah, it should start with the front page application, and then the next page says FO Womb Mixtape Curatorial Plan. And has the image of the aerial. So is your packet?
Oh, okay, I'm seeing, sorry, it reloaded the other thing I had clicked
Okay.
on when I was opening. So
Yeah.
I was not seeing the full plan here.
Yeah, it's a big packet. And then all the Vera waivers are in there as well. So it's a pretty big.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
so
I would
And so what
second-
is remaining that they need to submit that we have required previously for curatorial plans?
To go back to the conditions.
Yes, are all of those
Because-
conditions still needed?
Yes, and then also maybe some additional information about what is planned at the site and how they'll maintain kind of a cohesive exhibition at the site.
Mr. Chairman, don't we need a second for this recommendation?
If Commissioner Seward's earlier statement was an actual motion, is that correct, sir?
Yes.
A motion to defer to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is October 19th. And
I would second that.
I have a second from Commissioner Loftus. Any further discussion?
Well, I mean,
Please,
I
Commissioner
know
Cooper.
excuse me, Commissioner Cooper. I know I probably sound like an absolute broken record, and but we've had on this particular location several instances over the years where they have failed to ask permission. I say permission. They've failed to follow the requirements for getting the authorization to do the work on their building. I know a lot of work artistically is done really spontaneously, but the fact that they were made aware of the fact that we need to do this, and then neither one of the representatives chose to come or couldn't come to the meeting, I think we need to let them know we need to proceed to get this done correctly. They need to appear at the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooper. Again, we have a motion and a second to defer this item to our next regularly scheduled meeting on October 19th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovesh,
yes,
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer.
Yes.
Who was second?
Lost it.
Yes. And that
Mr.
was me
Chair, that
responding.
completes the vote.
Close vote. Say the vote.
Thank you, Mark. The motion carries to defer. Moving on to agenda item 3B, Arts Commission case number 200036, site-specific photography by MJ Alexander, a 1% for art project at 3 city-owned community centers as follows. 1, Northeast Pool, 1220 Northeast 33rd Street in Ward 7. 2, Southern Oaks Recreation, 400 Southwest 66th Street, Ward 4. And 3, Taylor Recreation at 1115 Southwest 70th Street in Ward 5. Randy, will you please introduce this item?
Certainly, Commissioner. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Randy Marks, Public Art Project Manager. 3 separate community center projects are included in this one overall project. The Northeast Center near historic Northeast High School, which is now a class in SAS, Southern Oaks Center on South Walker, and Taylor Recreation just off Southwestern. This is our first project specifying photography. On the ward map, next slide, let's see. I'm not,
Sorry.
We have lost the screen share.
okay.
Oh, you have?
I'm gonna hold
Yeah.
on.
Okay, do you have the screen share now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
So that
not
is,
advanced.
that's the introductory slide.
There we
And now
go.
the next slide on the ward map, you can see the locations of the different centers and the primary focus of emphasis for those different centers. So at the Northeast Center, there is a pool. A lot of the center is leased out to an outside agency. So the pool is the only part of the center of the structure that is actively managed by the Parks Department. At Southern Oaks, there is a basketball court that is extremely popular for basketball and other sports, and it is often booked up for tournaments. And Taylor has a large multi-purpose room, which is the site of one of the city's performing arts programs for children. Next slide, please. Project timeline, the RFQ was sent to photographers in the pre-qualified pool, and I need to move this, sorry. On June 18th, June 26th, the deadline for letters of interest from pool photographers. July 2nd, the first selection committee, MJ Alexander, was chosen for the project. And on July 10th, there was a site tour during the really dramatic downpour and flood that caught us all outside. But we managed to complete the site tour, and that just added a little excitement to the day. On July 29th, the conceptual design report was presented by MJ Alexander. She showed an overall concept, and it was accepted by the selection committee, but was requested to provide a little bit more detail, which she has provided. So we have an anticipation that in the second quarter of the current fiscal year, which would be before the end of December, that Taylor and Southern Oaks may be finished by that time. And then in the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, Northeast Pool will be completed at that time. The reason is because photography is going to take place after the pool has reopened, after all of the approvals take place, and then the artist will do site-specific photography at the Northeast Pool. So the 1% for our total budget for all three projects was a little over $7,700 from the 2007 GEO bond funding. The art award is $6,200 for all three locations put together. Next slide, please. Each site will have site-specific photography, and each site will have a site-specific presentation of that photography. At Northeast Pool, which you see illustrated here, there will be lenticular art, lenticular photography, which will be used to, quote, integrate 2 images of the swimming pool at different times of the day. In the calm before opening with chairs arranged perfectly around still waters, and in the excitement of being later, in the excitement of being filled with swimmers capturing their joy and energy, excuse me. So you can see the site there on the yellow wall, as this is the main entrance to the pool, and everybody comes by next to that wall, between the wall and a countertop that is there. And so as you come in one direction, you'll see the pool at rest, so to speak, and coming out the other direction, you will see an image of the pool in use. The lenticular art will be fabricated out of the hard plastic that will allow the photograph to stand up to being touched and will resist abrasion. The size of this piece is 48 inches by 32 inches. So on the next slide, please. You can see the site there with the red oval there, and on the beige wall and on the blue wall, there's another blue wall to the left that you don't see. There will be 5 images that will bear some similarity to the work that you see there by the artist. There will be a photograph of a client of the center, along with a quote that may be an inspirational quote. After the subject is chosen and interviewed by the artist, it is expected that the quote will emerge and be appropriate for that particular image. It may be something that the participant says in the course of the conversation, or something that sparks an idea in MJ's imagination. I'll say here that all of the images and the quotes, of course, will be vetted by staff, by Robbie and I, before installation. Next image, please. At Taylor, there will be a series of classic black and white portraits of neighborhood children in performance costume installed in the transom area of the great room. So the area there where you see the arrows from left to right. So those windows have long been filled by wood panels that are covered over with vinyl. So the photographs will be installed on the side that you see in the entryway of children in performance costume. On the inside, the already existing vinyl finish will remain on the inside of the great room looking out. Artist MJ Alexander will coordinate with the Parks Department staff to get proper parental consent for photography of any minors. Also, when she is on site at any one of the recreation centers taking photographs, there will be a highly visible notice that photography will be in progress, so that anybody that for any number of reasons can't or doesn't want their photograph to be accidentally taken, they will be notified of that process going on. So with that, I'll say thank you. And of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
MJ's not with us for the meeting today. Commissioners, are there any questions you have for staff for Randy? Commissioner Bailey.
We have a standard legal form that we are supplying the artist to use with the minor children that she's photographing, that Parks Department or somebody like that is already using.
Parks Department does have one, and we will acquire that, and we'll get Rita's take on it, and then we'll proceed from there.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Other questions from commissioners?
I just also wanted to comment that this is a really fun project, and I think it's different than we've seen before with 1%. And I love that we are using different mediums, and that a variety of artist types this year have been able to be represented in some of our 1% projects. So it's
I
very
really
neat.
agree with Allison. I think that MJ's done such a creative job, whether it's the poetry and the sidewalks or these fabulous photographs. It's really a nice change of pace.
Thank you for those comments. We intend to see more and more variety in the projects that artists get to perform in the coming year.
I think that she does a magnificent job of taking human subject matter, and really the photographs she takes just are so full of a story. When you look at them, you feel the story coming out of the photograph. I think she does that very well.
I'd like to move to recommend we proceed.
Second.
I have a motion to recommend from Commissioner Seward and a second from Commissioner Bailey. However, I have a question, and perhaps this is for Rita or Robbie. These are 3 separate items. Is this one of those situations where we could consider it a consent instead of voting on them individually?
It is, unless someone has a question about either of them. This is Rita.
Thank you, Rita. So like any consent document, if you wish to pull any of these items out for further discussion or separate action, you may do so. Otherwise, I have a motion to recommend and a second. For all items in this consent document, I do want to pause and allow anyone who wants to remove anything. Hearing none, any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Kobosh,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call vote.
Thank you, Mark. The motion
has
carries.
carried.
Thank you, Mark. The motion carries. A reminder that if we lose our connection for this meeting for more than 15 minutes, we will consider any remaining items at our next regularly scheduled Arts Commission meeting on October 19th at 4 p.m. Moving on to agenda item 3C, Arts Commission case number 200037, Toraya Tokichi, The Medicine Peddler by Julie or Jury, 808 North Broadway Street in Ward 6 for Downtown OKC Initiatives and Urban Land Institute of Oklahoma's Community Action Microgrants. Robbie, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So here's the aerial view of the site and the wall. This is in the downtown business district requiring their review. And it's the north-facing wall of 800 North Broadway Street in Automobile Alley. This one-story building, 13,900 square feet, was constructed as a restaurant in 1925, and it was purchased by Chris Salyer in 1988. And the current tenant is Yuzo Sushi Tapas. The wall is confirmed as painted white, and it's adjacent to a surface parking lot. The intended use was the work is supposed to lift the spirits of the community through placemaking and public art and to drive support of downtown districts and businesses. These projects aim to offer new ways for the public to experience our downtown districts and are meant to increase foot traffic. The signed waiver has been received from the artist, and so in the end, this would require downtown design review and issuance of a CA, and then a receipt of a sign permit for a mural. I am hearing a lot of feedback on the call. Is everyone else hearing that? For some reason, there's a lot of feedback.
So as a reminder, commissioners, when you're not speaking, please mute yourself.
And also, I just realized too that none of my slides were advancing. So if I could, I'd like to go through them.
Please, Robbie.
So this is the aerial view. And here is the mural view on the side of the building. So you can see it's adjacent to the door, but just located on more of the west side of the north facing, so that you can really kind of see the street view as you're driving by, and it might call you in to park there and visit the restaurant, or certainly make your walk down the sidewalk a little bit more lively. I do think we had a representative too of DOKC here. I don't think the artist could join us today.
I believe I saw Joe on the call. Joe, is there anything you would like to add to this application?
No, I think Robbie did a good job covering. We're really excited for this. I know that the artist wanted to find a Japanese restaurant to work with in downtown. Very limited Japanese options in downtown OKC, but I think it was important to her, and I'm really happy with what she's proposed.
Thank you, Joe. And for the record, would you please state your name and address?
Sorry, having trouble unmuting this. Joe Hudson, 211 North Robinson, Suite 225, 73102.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make a comment, I can't tell you how happy this makes me, because it is directly in my every minute line of sight sitting in my office. So I hope that doesn't pose a conflict, but it will really add to my quality of life.
If that's a conflict of interest for you, then it's anyone who gets to see it.
And Chairman, before we have any kind of a vote on this item, could we pause the meeting for a few minutes? And then I'll let you know when we can go back on.
Meaning we need to take a recess?
Just for a few minutes. Yes, please.
In that case, we are recessed for, and Rita, I think I'm required to give a time frame. I'm going to say 5 minutes unless staff would like more time.
Right, 4:46 would be the time that we could come back.
We are recessed and the meeting will resume at 4:46.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Rita.
Mr. Chair, the time is 4:47.
Thank you all for your patience. The time is now 4:47. I'm seeing a lot of stopped screen shares or stopped videos. It's probably appropriate and necessary for us to take attendance after that recess. Mark, please conduct the roll for attendance.
Commissioner Chambers,
Present.
Commissioner Bailey,
Present.
Commissioner Booker,
Here.
Commissioner Cooper, Commissioner Cooper,
Here.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Here.
Commissioner Hassenbeck, Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Kovash,
Here.
Commissioner Loftus, Commissioner Loftus,
Here.
Commissioner Owens, Commissioner Salyer,
Here,
Commissioner Seward,
Here.
Commissioner Sweeney, Commissioner Sweeney, Commissioner Yosef,
Mark, I apologize. Commissioner Sweeney is here. He's trying to unmute, I believe.
thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Yosef, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, I show all commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Yosef, Hassenbeck, Owens, and Williams.
Thank you, Mark. Resuming agenda item 3C, again, Arts Commission case 200037, Toraya Tokichi. Robbie's introduced this item. Commissioners have posed questions. Rather, Joe Hudson with Downtown OKC Initiatives has shared comments about this application. I would like to now open it up to other commissioners for comments. Meg, you mentioned how wonderful it is to see this in your immediate spaces. Other commissioners, comments or thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve.
Second.
I have a motion to recommend from Commissioner Salyer and a second from Commissioner Cooper. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mark. The motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 3D, Arts Commission case number 200038, annual report from Plaza Walls by Principal Curator Chris Canale. Oklahoma Mural Syndicate as follows. 1708 North Indiana Avenue, alley, fence, and Indiana wall in Ward 6. Number 2, 1715 Northwest 16th, Saints Pub west facing wall, also in Ward 6. Number 3, 1717 Northwest 16th, Everything Goes gas station south, east facing walls. Number 4, 1732 Northwest 16th, east facing wall for Pivot Project. Robbie, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, Principal Curator Chris Canale is here with us on the call. And this rotating mural exhibition was updated by the applicant on September 19th, 2019. We gave you the materials from that update in your packet so you can have a reference. This was something that the Arts Commission requested several years ago, that every time you receive an update that you have some reference information, because the sites have changed, you know, from time to time, buildings sell. And at that time in September, this wall right here at 1732 Northwest 16th was added. It's the site at Oak-and-Orr, and it's right next to a surface parking lot, so it makes it a lot more interesting in the area. And then these were the other locations that were included in that update. Staff has put together a possible recommendation for you, and that is to receive the report and to request that if any information is in the curatorial plan is outdated, that it be updated and submitted to the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs in the next 30 days. And that would provide a record for the city and also for your next update.
Thank you, Robbie. Chris, is there anything you'd like to add or share with the commission about this update?
Hello, how is everyone? Thank you. Also, Chris Canale, address is 523 Northwest 31st Street, Oklahoma City in the lovely Paseo Arts District. I apologize this year. We don't have a bunch of eye candy and photography of everything we've done so far to look at. It's a little crazy right now as we are in the middle of our mural expo and quite busy. So I thought a verbal presentation this year might suffice given our current meeting setup. So a couple things here. We have persevered through the pandemic, thankfully. We were able to land a couple SBA grants for the project and for our nonprofit, a couple disaster relief grants, thankfully. So we are able to hopefully survive 2020 and looking positive for 2021. So that's good. Our gallery was shut down for a few months. We had to postpone the Milk Crate Jam and a couple other events, gallery exhibitions that we had. But as Oklahoma City slowly started to reopen, we've been able to open up on Saturdays here and there. As you know, the Plaza District Festival has been canceled this year. That is usually when we throw our big event for the Mural Expo, where we repaint the entire district. This year, since the festival is canceled, we thought we were going to cancel as well. But after some creative brainstorming, we decided to spread the exhibition out instead of it occurring all in 1 week. We decided to host it over the over the course of September through October. What that allows for is our artists not to be painting on top of each other all in the same week. That allows for a little bit more of a distance, social interaction. We know that murals are great for inspiration and much needed right now, especially. So it's a privilege, I think, to be able to still do it this year. We've been able to find some amazing sponsors to help us make this happen. We know that all the public art has really inspired a lot of people. You know, like I said, it's a great outdoor activity for today's environment, where, you know, naturally we don't want anyone interrupting the artist anyways. So as the artist paints, the people can watch from afar, and it's really a great thing for everyone to enjoy in the outdoors. We have focused on mainly local artists this year. We wanted to avoid any unnecessary travel. So none of our artists are flying in or anything like that. So all of our artists this year are local and regional, which was important for us to kind of limit the impact of traveling. like I said, we got some amazing sponsors again this year. Google was back on board. We got YHR, of course, Mason Realty, HIS Paint is back again. And then we have a couple other new sponsors that have joined us as well. So we're pretty thankful to be able to still do it. It is going on right now. We are in our third weekend, our fourth week of the expo, or I guess there's like 5 weeks in September this year. So we're only like halfway through our roster. So for the next 4 weekends in a row, we will have artists live painting throughout the district. So that's essentially it for Plaza Walls. A little bit about the nonprofit. We're excited to announce that we're adding 2 new projects. As you know, our nonprofit was born out of the need to fund the Plaza Walls, but we wanted to give every community a Plaza Walls project. So we made Tackling the State and Public Art a mission. So you're familiar with the project that we have up in Miami, but now we have a project that we're starting up on the east side of Oklahoma City. And then we've also engaged El Reno, and we will be kicking off 5 new murals in El Reno. They will be starting up their own Plaza Walls, which it will be called El Reno Walls. So we kick that off in mid-October, right before the weather turns cold, and we'll be adding 5 new murals there. So we're pretty excited about that. I think we've sort of lost track, but I think we're over almost hitting 150 murals since we've started throughout the state. So we're pretty thankful for that awesome opportunity. So if anyone has any questions, feel free.
My wife and I walked the area one evening last week, and it was delightful. I love seeing all the new murals going up and the activity in the area.
Thank you, Commissioner Seward.
This is Commissioner Cooper. I just wanted to say, I remember back when Chris made his first presentation to the Arts Commission with the idea of the Plaza Walls. And it's just been phenomenal, the success that they have had and the artistic expression they've brought to our city. I just think it's so incredibly exciting. And I'm really glad when it was a new idea that we just jumped on it. So thank Chris for having birthed the idea for us and brought it forward.
And poor Chris, he went through the gauntlet of us. And I think this is such a wonderful story. And I'm so excited for the nonprofit and its growth and capacity making an impact statewide. Who would have guessed, like Terry referenced in the beginnings, that it would have grown to something affecting our entire state?
Yeah, we always like to talk about how all of the murals that we have created is all because of one question: can I paint your alley?
Yeah.
And so that's led to an explosion of public art all over the state. And we're really thrilled about taking on these new cities and towns. We're talking with Idabel, Claremore. So hopefully we'll be adding more and more cities and towns in the next couple months and year.
Thank you, Chris.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just make another quick comment. I was in the Plaza District on Wednesday having dinner, first time at Lua, which was awesome, but we're with a couple of people that weren't familiar really with the district, and they were hopping in and out of shops and trying to figure out what to do, and someone directed them to Plaza Walls, and they were just absolutely blown away by the experience. So
yeah, we are regularly listed as the top 10 things to do in Oklahoma City now, and that's really cool. We're becoming known for our public art scene here in Oklahoma City.
It's awesome, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Salyer. Other commissioners, any questions or comments for Chris? Hearing none, are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this item? If all questions,
I'd like to make a comment before we go. I have to say, working with young people, that this location has become an inspiration for people of all ages, young and old. And I remember 3 years ago when it started, and there were all kinds of questions. And so I'm just so glad that it has blossomed into this gigantic destination point for art lovers. So way to go, way to go.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweeney.
And for clarification, Chris, how many years?
We are going on our, this will be our 6th year painting, but we started in 2015, September of 2015. That's when we got our permit. We got our permit literally 7 days before we painted the first mural. So yeah, as soon as we got that permit, we were at the Plaza District Festival in 2015. So this is technically our 6th year painting, 5th year for the expo. Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other comments, questions?
Brian, do we have to move acceptance of the report?
The motion I think is best is to receive this report, Commissioner Seward.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
And was that receive the report and request updates, or? was
One
it
more
just
time,
receive the
Robbie.
report? Was that just to receive the report, or was it to receive the report and request updates to the plan?
And request updates to the plan, which is a part of the staff recommendations. Is that okay with Commissioners Bailey, who made the motion, and Commissioner
Yes.
Eichmann, who seconded?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
What updates are we supposed to provide?
Sure. On the curatorial plan, I think there are team members. If they're still involved, you could say there are no updates. All members are still involved. And then any changes in addresses, anything like that. So.
Okay, I don't think we talked about staff updates, but we talked about curatorial updates. There are no curatorial updates to provide. I am still the lead curator on the project, or the only curator that is listed and needs to be listed for the project.
Okay, so in the standing recommendations for the Arts Commission, they just have an outline of information they'd like in curatorial plans for the record of the city, and that includes anybody else involved. There were some other members on your previous curatorial plan, so if those are still valid, that's great. And if they're not, we're just requesting updates. I mean, it's up to you to update if there are any changes. So that was the request.
Okay, I'm confused by that because I thought that the request for our full team to be involved in the curation was denied, and that I was the only one listed as the one that was allowed to curate.
You are, but there are other members of your group, the Oklahoma Murals Syndicate, have roles.
Sure, we have rotating.
Do any of the commissioners want to speak to this besides just staff? Because this is part of the curatorial plan guidelines the commission put together. Does anybody else wish to speak to it?
Yeah, well, this is Stefan Kovash. The thing that Chris was talking about, the way I remember it is that we needed Chris's name to be the main name to commit the plaza walls to, you know, whatever they were doing. We wanted those other names, but we only wanted one person signing off on whatever the plaza walls would be doing.
Right. And if he's the only one involved, that's great. Then there would be no updates.
Could I just change my motion to the applicant work with staff on any updates as needed?
Yes, you may. Commissioner Eichmann, is that okay with you as well?
Yeah, I would second that change.
Okay.
And so I would encourage the applicant and staff to work together to identify any of those updates that align with our previous recommendations. Otherwise, If there are no updates, then there are no updates.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to provide you with the list of all of our new board members and staff, for sure.
Thank you all. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann. No, I asked her. already. Commissioner Salyer.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that completes the roll call vote. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mark. The motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 3E, Arts Commission case number 200039, revision to the Visual Arts Rights Act waiver for artists affecting all wards. Robbie, will you introduce this item, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So this update to the Visual Arts Rights Act waiver, I think we've been using pretty close to the same waiver for 20 or more years. But what we hope that this update does, we've heard from applicants, artists, and property owners that there's a lot of confusion about the application of the waiver and its use for private projects. So this is just an application for applicants to you. It's not for the 1%. The 1% waiver goes into the contract and it's embedded. So remember, this is just for applicants. But what it does is it provides for a clear title of the artwork, the materials, and an estimated lifespan based on those materials. It also highlights if the mural is located in a neighborhood or a commercial district. It establishes the artist as the clear author or creator of the artwork with rights. And the artist acknowledgement, it acknowledges on the form public accessibility, as well as the artwork's exposure to environmental and other factors, including abuse, vandalism, neglect, property destruction, pestilence, repairs, renovations to the site and location that may require removal of the work. So it, in essence, it's going to provide a clearer understanding between a property owner and the artist for the term of display. And then it also establishes a clear copyright ownership between the party commissioning the work and paying the artist and the artist. So staff is recommending the use of the new, if recommended by this commission, use of the new VERA waiver for all future artwork reviewed by the Arts Commission. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. There's a copy of the new waiver in your packet. And so the artist acknowledges several things like that they're author of the work, where it will be placed and it's accessible, all the things that I mentioned. And then the owner has a few more places to sign where they're acknowledging more of a term for display so that hopefully there's more of an agreement between the artist and the property owner. And hopefully they won't get removed prematurely.
Thank you, Robbie. I know this work emerged from a committee with Commissioners Kovash and Bailey, also with city staff, Robbie and Randy, as well as our council, Rita Douglas Talley. Commissioners Kovash and Bailey, is there anything you'd like to add for this item?
This is Commissioner Kovash. I think Robbie covered it pretty well, that the clarifications were needed, and I think they're pretty clear.
Thank you, Commissioner Kovash. Commissioner Bailey?
I think Rita's insight and our staff attorney and also Robbie's feedback on this as applicants have gone through this process confirmed that there needed to be some clarification in this particular waiver. And I agree with Commissioner Kovash. There is more clarification in this. I do have one comment to make to staff. There seems to be a spacing issue on the top of the second page.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, I
That
don't know.
might, it might but just be our
I
prime.gov, but we'll look at that.
When the PDF was uploaded. Okay.
Yeah, it's sometimes adjusted.
I encourage questions from commissioners to be directed to staff, though, on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Bailey. I want to remind all that, yes, we will have time for public comment, but in order, I'm starting with commissioners. Any other commissioners have comments or questions about this? And we'll direct that to staff first.
Excellent work.
Thank you, Commissioner Salyer. Hearing no further questions or comments from commissioners, I'd like to open this up to the public for anyone who wishes to speak to this item. Please, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Chris Canale, 523 Northwest 31st Street. I am very concerned about this new waiver. I've also ran the old waiver by a couple of attorneys, and I agree that it needs a lot of work and it's very vague, and there are some definitions that are not there. But having just scanned through this, it's a little alarming with the third bullet point that says, I further acknowledge that the work may be destroyed in whole or in part for any reason or no reason. That's concerning. And who is destroying the artwork? This should be a contract between the city and not a contract between a private property owner and a private business owner, which would be considered the artist as a vendor or independent contractor. The government shouldn't be involved in any business to business contracts. So I'm very confused about that. So who would be destroying the mural for any reason? Is this the city, or who is the destroyer?
This is Rita Talley. The waiver is a general form. If there was an agreement between an artist and a private purchaser, then of course they might choose to use this form as a guideline to create their own contractual relationship. But in the event of a contract between the city and an artist, that kind of language would be used.
Okay, it says at the top that this is to be completed by the artist, property owner, and purchaser of the, I guess, of the artwork. But again, it doesn't clearly state who would be destroying the work. Would that be the property owner, or would that be the city? As an artist, I am not going to sign this because it's vague again. And it's the current VARA waiver, the original VARA waiver before we had all these addendums on it about art easements and stuff like that, was more so of a contract between the city and the artist. And I knew that the reason why I was signing that was because if a building were to be damaged by a storm, it had some conditions in it. Whereas this is removing any conditions, and now it says no reason. I mean, I'm not going to give, I'm just not willing to give up all of those rights to the property owner and anyone for no reason. I think that's kind of an insult to the artist. We would not want that type of limited protection or virtually no protection for, let's say, a treasured artist like Picasso, a Picasso mural or something like that. There are clear definitions by the federal government to protect works of art. And I don't think that stripping away all of those rights from the artist is what we want to do. As a city, moving forward and progressive with public art and celebrating public art. I think that's a wrong move.
I appreciate your comments. It's really good to hear from the artist's perspective. And I will work with staff as they request to review the document further. But thank you very much for that perspective.
And
Thank you for listening to
for clarification, Chris, Rita is a municipal counselor who is assigned to the Arts Commission.
Yes, thank you. That's all I have about that. I would ask that it be continued to work on.
Thank you for your comments, Chris.
So Commissioner Seward here, shall we defer this to a later date?
I would make that motion to defer this to our next regularly.
I have a motion to defer this item. Allison, I apologize if you can't hear me. Your signal's going in and out while you were speaking, but I believe you made a motion to defer this item to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is on October 19th at 4 p.m. Is that correct, Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Commissioner Eichmann. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
I'm on a Zoom, is it? Okay, shoot. Okay,
Commissioner Hill,
I don't know, I'll call her back. Thank you.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Salyer.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mark. The motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 3F, Arts Commission case.
Is Commissioner Hill still with us?
He is absent for that
Okay.
vote. I'm moving forward. Is that
Thank
okay?
Uh-huh. I just wanted to confirm for the record.
Yeah, for the record, he's considered absent for that vote. And I'm sorry, Robbie.
That's okay.
I did not have Prime Gov up to see who was recorded and who was not.
Yeah,
I had it covered.
he was not. That's why I wanted to just make sure. Thank you.
And Mark, he is marked absent for that vote, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to agenda item 3F.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, we are experiencing technical difficulties. I am not sure what happened to the section header for item F. The items are there, but the header is not. I need to request from Robbie or Rita how I should handle this.
The section header, you mean the description of the item for F?
Yes, those items under E, starting with number 1, actually belong under the header for F. Those items numbered 1 through 11 belong to section F. The header, for some reason, is not showing. But those items are for F.
Correction. You may make a correction to match the published agenda, which lists item E as AC-20-00039 and so forth. So you may correct it because the official agenda is the published one rather than what's on this screen right now.
Thank you, ma'am.
So returning to agenda item 3F. AC-20-00040 11 on 11th. curated by Marcus Muse at 1100 North Classen Drive in Ward 6 for Midtown Renaissance as follows. 1. Define Luxury by Alexander Taman. 2. Bombastic by Creed Bayless. 3. Stay Woke by Rosetta Funches. 4. Peace, Peace by Sean Valley. 5. Forward Refraction by Brian Boone. 6. A Part of Falling Apart by Eli Scott and Katie Rake, doing business as Holy Kids. 7. Night and Day by Brian K. Landreth. 8. Rose by Miguel Palomino. 9. For Brianna by Marcus Muse. 10. Portal Way by Joshua J. Farrell, doing business as Don J. 11. Journey of the Petroglyphs by Paul Bagley. Robbie, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So this is in the Downtown Business District again. So this requires Downtown Design Committee review and a CA. So, and what we, sorry about that. I'm having technical difficulties now. Let me get back on track here. I'm going to take back the screen for, stop sharing for a moment and then start sharing again. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Okay, can you see an aerial view of the site on your screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This north side right here of the building, this is the location for the murals. I'm going to try to advance it again. And for some reason it's not. There we go. So this is a rendering of what it would look like on the north side of that Plaza Court building. There's a sidewalk, and this is actually a dumpster enclosure that has 11 panels. So each of the 11 panels will be by an artist, a different artist, and these panels measure 4 foot by 8 foot, and they're painted on both sides and varnished for protection against weather and vandalism. The welded frame is already in place, and for the dumpster enclosure, it was specifically fabricated for that purpose. And external lighting will illuminate each piece of art from underneath as well as behind the panel frames. The Plaza Court building was constructed in 1927, and that same year had 2 different additions, both the parking structure and additional retail. This dumpster enclosure services a lot of surrounding retail and restaurant tenants, and it's part of Midtown and the Downtown Business Improvement District. The artist notes in his application that the artwork is intended as a graffiti abatement measure at the site, and it brings more foot traffic and provides outdoor art destinations for the public, one with vibrancy, colors, and diversity that all may enjoy. Residents may find this destination a perfect place for selfies and also create a tangible sense of belonging, moving culture forward. The city's waiver forms, when we received them in the packet, they were modified for use by the property owner as part of their agreement. And just notice that as we were putting the packet together. So that would be one of our conditions. We were hoping to be able to use the new waiver, but what we've listed as a condition on this item would be that new waivers would be gathered, and we'll just use our old form, and that those should be submitted to the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs before any installation. And in the application, there's also a description about an art marker, or more of a marquee actually, placed on the eastern point. You can see it here in the rendering, and it'll be blacklit and highlight each artist and the title of the work. And so the only condition listed is the Visual Arts Rights Act waivers from each artist, and that this would be, staff is recommending that you recommend with that condition to the Downtown Design Review Committee, and then for a CA, and then Development Services for a permit. Here are some of the artworks that are included. They're very exciting when you see them all together. And here are the last 3. So there's 11 total. And I'll show you those again. And I did not see the applicant or the property owner enter the meeting. So I'm not sure. Marcus Muse is the curator of this for Chris Fleming of Midtown Renaissance.
Thank you, Robbie. Any questions from commissioners for staff?
Yes, Commissioner Seward here. So we're having to wait to proceed on this till we have new Vera waiver forms?
No, that's not why we're waiting. It still has to go to downtown design review and get a permit so it can be installed.
And for
that gives them lots of time to get in the new waivers. We just need the new waivers before they're installed.
So these are the waivers that we've deferred to the next meeting?
No, we're going to use, now that we've made a deferment, we're going to use our old waiver form.
Okay, all right.
That's, yeah.
That
Yeah.
was my clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because when we look at the new waiver, that'll be from everything that point forward. So we'll just keep using the old form.
I move to recommend. I think it's a beautiful group of art.
I have a motion to recommend and a second from Commissioner Seward.
Yes.
Is that correct? And when I say motion to recommend, these items are listed at 11. So this will be entertained as a consent docket. And as a consent docket, if anyone wants to pull out any individual item for further discussion or action, please do so now. Hearing none, the motion to recommend by Commissioner Sweeney and second by Commissioner Seward, with the understanding that the Vera waivers will be gathered using our existing form. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer. Commissioner Salyer,
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute myself, sorry.
Okay, and
Commissioner-
for the record, before we move on, I want to make sure that the title of this agenda item is 11 on 11th, with 11 titles listed and their artist names. Define Luxury was one of the 11, but the title is 11 on 11th, curated. I'm not sure why PrimeGov is doing this right now because I saw it in the original correctly. And then also it did not show that Commissioner Sweeney made the motion in the record on PrimeGov. If that could be noted for the record, please. Noted.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mark. The motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 3G. Arts Commission case number 20-00041 with love, 6 murals by 6 artists. 1708 Northeast 23rd Street in Ward 7 for Oklahoma Mural Syndicate and JB as follows. Number 1, Untitled by Robert Peterson. Number 2, Relic by Josh Farrell, doing business as Don J. 3, The Four Winds by Ebony Iman Dallas. 4, Untitled by Tony Thunder. 5, Ascension by Tiffany McKnight. 6, Pay the Brothers by Antonio Andrews, doing business as No Parking Studio. And like the last item and this item, I apologize if I have mispronounced anyone's names. Robbie, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Commissioner Chairman. The zoning for this site is SPUD 1022, and the good thing is it allows cultural exhibitions. So, and it's also governed by C3 Community Commercial District zoning, which allows for murals. And so this building was purchased by Two Yet Many LLC in 2017, and Centennial Health now occupies the space. And the murals are proposed on the west wall, as you can see, adjacent to a vacant grassy lot. So they'll get full exposure.
Robbie, I
And then
apologize. Your screen share is not advancing. I'm still seeing Prime Gov.
Okay, interesting. Let me try this again. I'm going to go back then, if you didn't see that. Huh.
We now see your desktop, I believe. There we
Okay.
go. Yay.
You can see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is the site, the SPUD site. This is the west wall where the murals will be located. You can see the grassy lot. And this is Northeast 23rd Street. So the address is 1708. Let's see if it advances this time, because this is the exciting part.
Yes.
Okay. So this building was originally constructed, it's in 1931. And it's a 12,000 square foot, one-story medical office building. It was constructed as that. And then they added over 6,000 square feet later in 1945 as additional space. And then in 2018, the SPUD was established. And this is actually site 2. It's a 2-site SPUD. So there's a mix of commercial and vacant lots on this part of Northeast 23rd Street. Oklahoma Governor Brad Henry established this corridor from I-35 to 235 as the Clara Looper Corridor in 2000, and it was formerly known as State Highway 107. So the intended use is a collaboration between Oklahoma Mural Syndicate, a 501c3 nonprofit, and hip hop artist community activist JB, which aims to increase beautification efforts for the East Side community of Oklahoma City and to celebrate 6 artists of color. The murals are intended to debut on October 3rd and coincide with an outdoor opening reception event. And the event will include food trucks, DJs, performance artists booth, etc. Signed waivers from all 6 artists are included. And the description of the materials, location, and text for the art marker is not included in the application. The permitting requirements are a review and recommendation from the Arts Commission and a sign permit for a mural. And under the conditions, staff has pointed out that maybe there should be a recommendation with condition to development services for the required permit, but that confirmation on the color drawing, which color drawings are color drawings of the mural and which are representative, because that was in the application, that maybe we could ask the applicant. And then for the representative images, if a color drawing could be provided for the city's record prior to painting, because this is the conditional use stated in the ordinance. And then I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none. Chris.
Hello.
Please.
Again, Chris Canale, 523 Northwest 31st Street. Yeah, we're really excited about this project. We've always wanted to increase public art on the east side. And we've teamed up with activists, local musician, rapper, JB, who's a community leader in that area. And we've established 6 spots to increase or amplify Black artists and Black voices. So we're really excited about this opportunity. Like you said, we've teamed up with Pivot Project, who are the owners of the building. And we have a live outdoor event planned for the celebration of the completion of the murals. So we're all really excited about it. there are artists that we are engaged with that tend to be improvisational. So we provided previous renderings or previous works of art for you to understand the style of artwork that will be there. But under my understanding of what the Arts Commission is looking for as far as the safetiness of the murals, this would be a good representation of what the murals would or could look like.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for the applicant from commissioners?
This is Commissioner Kovash. I just wanted to clarify, because in the application paperwork, I saw it was artists of colors. Is that what you meant, Chris?
Artists of color, yeah. So we're
As
focused.
opposed, I mean, you said black artists, but in the application it said artists of color, which would include other colors.
I'm familiar with that, what that would mean. Yeah. We are just focused on Black artists for this particular project. But I think that overall our efforts are to work with any artists of color in the future for the With Love project. That would be our focus.
Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant or staff?
I have a question for staff on their recommendation to clarify that they are requesting to have renderings of the final pieces prior to permit. Or do they, rather, what does staff feel is appropriate for the permit application for these artists, these 6 artists' work that they're planning to produce?
Yeah, so page 3 of the staff report, item F, states the requirements from code. And item number 3 under F is a color drawing. So what we're doing with code and with Arts Commission review is we're creating a record, right, of lawfully established murals in OKC. If we don't have that color rendering for our record, we can't prove that it was lawfully established. So the suggestion here is to go ahead and provide it so that we have a record.
When is that record necessary?
I want to clarify with.
Right. So I would, my own personal recommendation would be to keep it with the art records so that it can be very clear and keep it as a conditional recommendation that the Arts Commission would make. And that's why the staff recommendation is written that way, so that the art record is clear. And if any part of the city asked about it, police department, code enforcement, anybody, that we could go right to that record.
Thank you, Robbie. Commissioner Bailey, I believe I interrupted you.
I want to ask a question to the applicant.
Please.
Can the applicant clarify what they are planning to provide in their application as far as color renderings go for these 6 pieces?
We feel that we've provided enough for you to make a decision or recommendation for a permit. These are, I'm not really too sure why we are scrutinizing this particular process when our last 2 mural permits were on a curatorial basis. We just saw several projects get presented previously with renderings that were not the actual art that was going to be painted, but with intentions and guidelines that were for the curatorial process. So
I feel like there's a conversation that has happened that isn't public in the Arts Commission meeting, and I'm trying to ask questions to understand what the conflict is between what the applicant is providing and what staff is recommending. So I thank you for your patience with me asking these questions. So these pieces that we're seeing on our screen are previous works by these artists, but this is not what is getting painted.
No, some of them are the works of art that they will be painting, and then some of them are improvisational artists who kind of work with, they have a certain style and they paint with that style. So that's what you're going to expect and get from that particular artist. So for us to provide, to require that artist to provide a rendering up front of the actual piece of art, and with I'm not too sure what the goal is. If the goal is for that artist not to be able to deviate away from that particular image or drawing or rendering that they provided, I'm not really too sure what the ultimate goal here is, but in the past we've provided, I know that my particular project with the city shelter was a rendering of what it would look like as far as my style and stuff like that goes. That is exactly what we're doing here. So, for us to require a specific exact rendering from our artists, I don't think is appropriate. We're dealing with self-expression. We're dealing with First Amendment, freedom of speech rights here. This is private property. I've been told by your staff that your commission that you are to be judging the artwork based on its safetiness to drivers and public safety, not based on aesthetics or content. So this is what the artwork will look like. These are some of the similar colors that will be inside the artwork. We do not anticipate anything that would be not safe to drivers or to the public. Whatever those parameters are, we've asked for definitions for those parameters, but we really haven't gotten them. So this is what we've provided. It's more than I've provided in the last 2 permits that I've received from you guys. So I feel like we're doing the most we can to give you the artwork that will be painted on there.
Thank you, Chris.
I'd like to make a motion to approve. I think this is a beautiful project, and I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to this area. And so I just think we should move ahead.
Thank you.
I have a motion to recommend from Commissioner Sweeney. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Commissioner Hill. Any further discussion? Commissioner Bailey or Commissioner Seward, I
have a question. Does
please.
this include or not include staff recommendations?
The motion as it stands does not include staff recommendations.
Thank you.
Would the applicant be willing to submit final photos of these works as submitted so that the Arts and Cultural Affairs Department can have a final copy if Development Services were to ever have a question about the permitted work?
I would love to provide that, but I would highly recommend that you have a photographer on staff to do that work for you.
Okay, well, we don't. So, so is that a yes, or yes, you would submit after the artist has installed the work so that we know that this is the permitted work?
If that is a requirement for approval, yes.
Any further discussion? And for clarification, the motion is to recommend. We have no conditions on that recommendation. It's from Commissioner Sweeney and a second from Commissioner Hill. Hearing no further discussion. Mark, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call vote. The motion carries.
And Chairman, can we confirm that that was for as consent for all 6
That's
items?
where I was going next,
Thank
Robbie.
you.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure the record's clear.
Yeah, that motion to recommend included items 1 through 6 as a consent docket vote.
So that.
Moving on to agenda item 4, discussion action on reports from committees. 4A, Commission Advocate, nothing to report. 4B, integrated 1% for arts projects. Staff has a lot on their plates and they will have this available in the next 30 days. So hopefully this will be a report we see at our next commission meeting on October 19th. Item 5, report from staff. Robbie.
So we've changed our staff reporting method now. We're using part of our Office 365 package. So in the future, you'll start seeing notes under staff report showing all the projects that we're working on in the current fiscal year. So, and they're titled, like the first page in your packet has the 1% for art projects for the year. And it has amounts and where we are in the planning and execution stages. And then you'll also have as your second page, the non 1% for art projects. So these sometimes involve selection, helping clients, but often these can be planning, these can be implementation of plans, and these can also be negotiated agreements for like public art installation and placement agreements, where we work with other departments of the city and outside groups. And so these can be found in various stages in that other staff report. We've also started working with our commercial district team on many of the enhanced streetscape projects. So while streetscapes are not eligible for 1% for art, that is the minimum that the city must contribute to public art. There is nothing that says that construction dollars cannot be used to fund public art enhancements. So we're working with Public Works and the commercial districts and their stakeholders to look at those projects that were advertised as enhanced projects, and also work with the elected officials on expectations for those projects. And we have several right now. We're meeting monthly with our commercial district staff to try to carry those out. And those will run the gamut of things that are actually placed in streetscapes, and then things that maybe are infrastructure for other art pieces. So more information to come, but just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you, Robbie. Moving on to agenda item 6, comments from commission members. 6A, items from the chair. Thank you everyone for your patience. Moving on to agenda item 6B, items from commission members. Commissioner Cooper, please.
Well, actually, I don't have anything to say about the business of the commission itself, but I did want to mention that I received a notice, and you all may have received the very same notice, that our fellow commissioner, JB, is having a concert at the Tower Theater on October the 17th, I believe it is. It's Friday night or Saturday night. Anyway, it's sometime in October. So JB's got a concert coming up. It's not exactly in my wheelhouse, but I'm planning to go.
I love it, Commissioner Cooper. Thank you. makes me so
Chairman, I
happy.
just had one quick thing also that I haven't had a chance to talk to my colleague and committee member, Mr. Seward, about. But I did hear, as did Allison Bailey in the Downtown Initiatives meeting, that there's some discussion about possibly locating a sculpture called the Kiss in Kerr Park.
Yeah.
And that led me to think that we need to see how we're moving forward with the relocation of the Air Force sculpture. And if there's any connection or cross funding or any kind of opportunities between those two things. So just for everybody's information, it looks like the park may be losing something and gaining something.
Thank you, Commissioner Salyer. And as a reminder, the KISS was considered by this body several, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, around that time. And then, of course, Commissioners Seward and Salyer have served on the Air Force Monument Committee and helping us find an appropriate location and conservation efforts for that sculpture.
So, and it felt like we were making good progress on a location for that sculpture. And we kind of got shut down in COVID, but we probably ought to just get a sense of where that is. And I think that the reconsideration of the KISS sculpture has a lot to do with a change of ownership or a change of management of the park space.
Great point. Thank you, Commissioner Salyer. Other comments from commissioners? Hearing on, moving on to agenda item 7, comments from citizens. Tony, you raised your hand.
I sure did. Anton Morton, 1611 Northwest 16th Street, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm just going to drone it in for you guys and say, please do keep having these virtual meetings even after we get done with the days of COVID-19. And that's all I have. I appreciate you guys doing this.
Thank you. Any other comments from citizens? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to see y'all. Nope.